All right, guys, we've got ourselves a mini preview as well as a season win total prediction for the Chicago Bears. Their over-under on the season for wins is 7.5, over 7.5 at -112, under 7.5 at -108. And we are going to go with under 7.5 at -108. And we're going to jump right on into the roster and the head coaching staff and take a look. Of course, all the coaches come back. Head coach Matt Eberflus had a pretty decent year last year. Luke Getsy, clever play caller and not stubborn. He likes to make plays for the players he's got. He doesn't go out of the way. He doesn't force players into his system. So he had a good year last year calling plays. And then defensive coordinator Alan Williams, though Eberflus teams to call the plays, but they work together. But let's jump into the most important part of this football team, Justin Fields. And it's all about, can he make progress as a thrower? He had some bad metrics last year, and we'll see if he can go ahead and make that progress. A lot of people think he's just going to make that jump with DJ Moore added to the room, but I'm not so sure that is the reason why he makes a jump. If he makes a jump, a lot of Justin Fields' problems last year were holding on to the ball too long, running into some sacks, and throwing the ball. He's just missing guys. I mean, he's missing reads. He's, making bad throws here and there, and everywhere, I suppose. A lot of turnover-worthy plays as well. Last year was toward the bottom. I believe it was 34 out of 36 qualifying quarterbacks for turnover-worthy plays. So I struggle to see a world where Justin Fields makes a humongous leap throwing the football. Obviously, DJ Moore is excellent to have. And we'll talk about the wide receiver room in a little bit. But adding to that should help him in theory. But he does a lot of things that aren't cast dependent. It doesn't matter who the supporting cast is for a lot of this stuff. Makes a lot of mistakes throwing the ball, reading the play, that sort of stuff. Running wise, he's obviously excellent. He's seemed to take a step up from where he was at Ohio State last year, or the year before he was at Ohio State, and then last year he took a step up coming into the NFL, which is crazy. But he's a fluid runner. They do well calling plays for him. He makes good decisions running the football and options and things like that. So running is not a problem for him, but for this team to really take that step and push toward playoffs or the division or whatever their goals are this year, Fields throwing the ball is going to have to be better, because teams are just going to try and hamper down on the running aspect. So we'll see. But it's all down to Justin Fields, you would think. Offensive line wise, it's an average group, but there's potential. A lot of young guys here. Nate Davis comes in at right guard, which is a good pickup for them, solid. And then our younger guys, Darnell Wright, Braxton Jones on the tackles. Braxton Jones came out of nowhere last year, had a really, really good year. Nobody seemed to expect it, I guess, except people inside the room in Chicago. So a really good year from him. They'll hope for another step. They'll hope Darnell Wright comes in and is solid right away. That doesn't always happen, obviously, at that position, so we'll see. And then the middle of the line, solid, if anything. So there's room for this line to grow, but an average unit right now. Then we'll go right to the tight end unit first, because it's quick, simple. Cole Kmet is a pretty good tight end. This is around the time when tight ends tend to take that big step, so they'll hope for that here. And Tunyon's a good backup, and that's pretty much it. So two pretty decent tight ends. And then wide receiver room. And my read on the wide receiver room is, I want to say, overrated a little bit. DJ Moore comes in. It's obviously an excellent player, but he doesn't fix this wide receiver room. They'll hope it does. Mooney took a big step back last year, so they'll hope that he's just getting 2s and 3s now and he can really dominate again. But, we'll see. Claypool was awful. It's just genuinely awful. So he'll need to get back to it. So two players that took pretty big steps back are going to have to come in and take a jump. So we'll see. There's a couple decent depth pieces. St. Brown's not too bad. Velus Jones is someone they drafted. Weird draft pick, but, he's on the roster. But if DJ Moore goes down, do you see anything out of this wide receiver room? I'm not so sure. I'm hoping Mooney can take another step up, but for the moment, just a little bit overrated in this wide receiver room. But adding someone of DJ Moore it's not going to be a negative. It's going to be a large positive, but I don't think it's some great wide receiver room. Talent-wise, it's really nice. You know, putting it all together on the field, different story for next year. Then we jump to the defense. Very similar to last year in their most important bits. Defensive line added interior bodies, added DeMarcus Walker, but is that enough? Probably not. Interiors kind of just bodies, some decent solid guys, but nothing crazy. And then Walker, he had a good year last year, 8 sacks, some pressures, but he's going to be the one by the looks of it here. So they're going to key in on him. Can he bring that production over? I'm not sure. And do the other guys have enough to break their blocks? If he's getting double teamed, or can the other guys do enough on their own? I'm not so sure. This seems like a really bad defensive line, and I'm not expecting it to make any big jump or anything like that next year. They'll hope, you know, Billings comes in and does well. The 2 guys they drafted come in and do well, but I'm not so sure. Linebacker room, we were talking about, this is probably the biggest upgrade, I guess, in any position group all over the NFL, I guess. I mean, you go from Roquan Smith was obviously great, more like the end of last year. After Roquan Smith left, that group gets upgraded to Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, just throwing money at it, hoping it sticks. I don't particularly love that plan in today's NFL, but they're doing it, and they'll hope the middle of the field is covered. And the secondary doesn't really add anybody except their draft pick Tariq Stevenson, who I like, but this is a group that wasn't good last year. It's got some decent players, you know. I like the safety room, but adding a rookie corner to a really bad defense, or adding a rookie corner to a bad secondary, is that really going to make a difference year one? Probably not. So I expect a pretty bad defense all around. We'll jump into the schedule though, and it's a lot of coin flips. We have 10 games here that are, I call them coin flips. They're from anywhere from -2.5 to +2.5 odds wise, and they're a favorite at home against Arizona. That's probably their best spot in terms of being a favorite. There aren't huge favorites anywhere else. Green Bay, at Tampa, at Kansas City, and Denver is the first 4. So we'll know if Fields is throwing the ball well, because they're not too bad defenses there. Kansas City's defense is normally a little bit better than people give it credit for. Denver had a really good D last year. Green Bay has probably the best defense in the division, and Tampa Bay still has some good starters there on defense. And then we go to at Washington, home to Minnesota, home to Las Vegas, which is a nice stretch, some winnable games there. And then this is their toughest stretch of the season for me, at the Chargers, at the Saints, home to the Panthers, at Detroit, at Minnesota, and then their bye. 4 road games there, 2 divisional opponents on the road. It's a really tough stretch, and then they come out of their bye and play Detroit, at Cleveland's really tough, Arizona, Atlanta, and at Green Bay to end the year. So there are some difficult games in there. There's some difficult stretches. As we said, 10 games here that are kind of coin flippy. They didn't do well in those games. They were 1-7 last year in 1-score games, I believe it was. And, you know, they got some luck other places, you know, field goal kicking and fumble recovery luck and stuff like that. So that may even out. But the biggest thing for me in those 1-score games is they turn the ball over a lot chasing the game, and that can't happen this year, and they'll hope Justin Fields doesn't do it this year. That being said, this is probably inflated just a little bit. We're going to go under 7.5 at -108 for the Chicago Bears. And tomorrow we'll get going on another team. I believe it's the Bengals next, so look out for that. But that is it for the Bears, under 7.5.